Over the next 10 years, the population of Montgomery County will grow to well over 1 million residents. That's tens of thousands of additional cars and millions of additional miles to be traveled on already congested roads. To meet this challenge, Montgomery County Councilmember Marc Elrich is advocating for the development of a bus rapid transit system for the region. This cost-effective system could provide much-needed traffic relief and a reliable option for commuters countywide. Hear more from Councilmember Elrich up next.
You don't need me to tell you how bad traffic is. We're all impacted daily. Commuters have long, increasingly expensive commutes spent on congested roads. That's time that could be spent with families and on other priorities. Traffic congestion and poor transportation policies go hand in hand, negatively impacting the quality of life in our communities and future economic development opportunities. Our congested roadways are also a threat to our health, especially to children and seniors. As a matter of fact, the EPA has designated Montgomery County and the Washington region as a non-attainment area, an area where air pollution levels persistently exceed the national standards. We need to give our residents real alternatives to get out of their cars and onto public transit. That will put us on a path to reducing CO2 and lowering pollution levels. Here are the historical and projected CO2 levels in the region from 2002 to 2030. If we do nothing then by 2030, we will have an increase in CO2 of 48% over 2002 levels. If we adopt the California standards, which would require lower vehicle emissions, we will get a 22% increase over 2002 levels. If we adopt the 35 mile per gallon CAFE standards, then we get a 16% increase over 2002 levels. All three of these scenarios show an increase in CO2 levels. The drive nationally and internationally is to get CO2 levels below the 1990 levels. These figures show that the Washington region is heading in the opposite and wrong direction. The only way we can reduce CO2 levels enough to meet our goals is to reduce the vehicle miles traveled. An 8.3% reduction in vehicle miles traveled would get Montgomery County back to 2002 levels of CO2, and an estimated 15% reduction in vehicle miles traveled would get us back close to 1990 levels. We need to start coming up with different ways to move people around the county in order to reduce the number of cars on the road. One way to do that is to get more people to use public transit. Public transit allows for reasonable amounts of additional development without burying neighborhoods in traffic, and it helps relieve traffic congestion and knocks down CO2 levels. But just saying we believe in more public transit is not enough. We must create a new paradigm in which public transit is accessible, efficient, and a desirable alternative to being mired in traffic. Some have suggested that creating horrible traffic conditions will get people out of cars. It will not, because existing transit options are too limited and most of it is too slow to attract commuters who have a choice between transit and their cars. So what are our options? Subways are great, but very expensive. They can cost around $350 million per mile to build. Creating light rail in a built-up environment like Montgomery County can cost $75 to $100 million per mile, as county studies have shown. Another option is to look at bus rapid transit, or BRT for short. A BRT, or surface transitway system, could be built over existing infrastructure and is the least expensive solution. It would also be efficient and inviting to current and future generations of communities. Recent BRT projects in the U.S. range between $6 million a mile, as in Eugene, Oregon, to $25 million a mile on the Orange Line in Los Angeles. Montgomery County's BRT would fall somewhere in between. BRT has a number of characteristics. The number one characteristic of a true BRT system that makes it work effectively is that it runs on a separate guideway. This is different from improved bus service, which operates in existing traffic and is sometimes called light BRT. Light BRT simply puts more buses on the road and may allow buses to pull to the front of a line at an intersection and go first through a green light, called queue jumping. Or it may hold a light green when the presence of a bus is detected. But these measures don't work well in congested conditions like we have, where the transit vehicle is stuck in a long line of traffic. Those measures are not what I propose for Montgomery County. What I do propose for our county is dedicated lanes for transit vehicles, a characteristic of heavy BRT. There are only a few of these systems in the U.S. right now, but more worldwide. A portion of the median strips on our major state roads can be used to run the system through much of Montgomery County. In more congested urban areas like downtown Silver Spring and Bethesda, the lane next to the curb could be BRT and bus only during rush hour. Curb lanes don't carry traffic efficiently now anyway because they're already used by local buses that slow the flow of auto traffic. Using the curb lanes in these urban areas gets the transit vehicle out of traffic, allowing it to run at full speed without any cars in front of it. This, along with a system that gives transit vehicles a separate traffic signal to allow them to proceed ahead of cars at intersections, will give the rider an experience comparable to a light rail system. Transit that uses guideways is relatively inexpensive because an entire lane width does not have to be created. Only the two side ribbons are paved. The center area can be grass and be used to handle stormwater. This is the track that is aesthetically pleasing and environmentally friendly. Here's what a dedicated guideway system looks like in Eugene, Oregon. Their system opened in 2007. The image on the top left is a single track, and the one on the top right is a double track. You can do double tracking with only 20 feet of space, and the vehicles will run in guideways. The transit vehicles come to an intersection and leave the guideway, drive through the intersection like a regular bus, then re-enter the guideway on the other side. This is the guidance system. The vehicles have small wheels that can be easily fitted onto any bus. In Australia, buses run 55 miles per hour in the guideway for long, uninterrupted stretches. One advantage of a transit vehicle being able to operate both in and out of guideways relates to the directional flow of traffic in Montgomery County. In the morning, our traffic flows from north to south and east to west. When driving the opposite direction in the morning, there is often very little traffic. The BRT system can take advantage of this traffic pattern. For example, let's say a BRT vehicle is traveling south on Georgia Avenue's dedicated guideway in the morning. When it arrives at the Glenmont station, it can turn around and drive back north on the roadway at the speed limit. In this scenario, there's no need to build the double-track system. In the evening, the BRT vehicle will go north on the guideway and be out of the congestion on the roadway. This option further contributes to the cost-effectiveness of the plan. There are some places that will need to be built with two tracks because of the nature of the traffic flows, such as parts of Route 355, Freers Mill Road, and University Boulevard. But the majority of the system can be single-tracked. This system would have 3 major north-south routes and 3 east-west routes, which are sorely needed for connectivity in the county. The Metro Rail and the planned light rail Purple Line would fit together with the BRT system, providing even more transit options. Here's an example of how the BRT system could take you easily to many places in the county. Suppose you're bored in Olney. For south and west travelers, you could take a quick ride to the Glenmont station and transfer to Metro Rail. Or you could transfer to the BRT line on the ICC and travel west on a BRT vehicle either to the Shady Grove Life Sciences Center or the 355 corridor north. Or you could travel west into Rockville and the 355 corridor south. Travelers going further south and east from Olney could take the line down Georgia Avenue to Connecticut, continue on Connecticut south through Kensington to NIH Walter Reed Medical Center and into Bethesda. Or travelers from Olney could take the ICC line east to the 29 corridor with access to FDA White Oak area and New Hampshire Avenue. This gives you a sense of the many options that our BRT system offers. BRT can have the higher speeds and frequencies that are equivalent to a light rail system. During rush hours, the vehicle could run every 6 to 8 minutes or move frequently if needed, and no schedule will be required. In contrast, on a typical express bus schedule, if you miss the 7:15 bus, you'll have to wait until the 7:45 to get the next one. Our residents need service that is frequent, reliable, and fast. Another feature of the BRT system is that they have reel stations. These are raised platforms that accommodate wheelchairs and baby strollers, which can roll straight onto the vehicle. There's no step up and no step down. The guide wheels allow the vehicle to dock precisely next to the platform, so there's no gap in which to get stuck. These images are of other stations that are more substantially built. Note, they also have shelter and cover. And this is the station at the end of the line in Eugene, Oregon. With a surface transit system like I proposed, ride-on buses can be used more efficiently. They can move people from neighborhoods to a BRT station, thereby providing more frequent neighborhood service. In addition, the ride-on bus can selectively use the guideway system, creating a lot of flexibility that is not possible with light rail. We currently have buses on all these routes, but they're stuck in traffic, which reduces their speed and reliability. Dedicated right-of-way gives transit vehicles an unimpeded route, enabling them to make more round trips more reliably than they can today. Using the same driver and the same bus to make more trips maximizes the cost effectiveness of our investment in people and equipment. BRT vehicles are distinctive, sleek, more comfortable, and they have more capacity. This means commuters don't have to wait for multiple small buses for a seat. Here are some examples of stylish vehicles in use today. The designs, which include Vista windows, achieve the goal of providing a rail-like experience. Another important feature is fast fare collection. Los Angeles riders simply tap their car onto the reader at the station before boarding the vehicle, just like our Metro Smart Trip cards. Passenger boarding is similar to boarding a Metro car, with no interaction with the driver. Some systems, like Los Angeles, rely on an honor system, but transit police occasionally move through the BRT vehicle and request to see your fare card, which helps ensure compliance. If you don't have a valid fare card, then you're required to pay a large fine. This honor system eliminates the need for costly turnstiles, their maintenance, their breakdowns, and the time delays they can cause. In the long run, the savings are more than the cost of a few people who might try to beat the system. Another feature is real-time information, where the rider is informed exactly when the next BRT vehicle is arriving. Currently, there is BRT, both light and heavy BRT, operating in 12 locations across the United States. BRT is in Alameda, Contra Costa, Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, Cleveland, Eugene, Kansas City, Miami, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, and Santa Clara. Currently, there are plans to create BRT systems in New York, Albany, Reno, San Bernardino, Provo, Hartford, Indianapolis, and Atlanta. There are also successful BRT systems around the world, in Leeds, England, Toronto, Canada, Essen, Germany, Adelaide, Australia, Bogota, Colombia, and Curitiba, Brazil. In Eugene, Oregon, the heavy BRT line is 4 miles long, and it cost approximately $6 million a mile to build. This cost included the guideways, stations, and information systems for $6 million per mile. That's everything, the total cost, and it's successful. A new 12-mile segment began construction in the fall of 2009 at the same cost as the first phase. There are several features of the BRT system that make it a cost-effective choice. Vehicles can be off the shelf. Builders don't have to deal with railroad track, and overhead wires are not required. Diesel and diesel-electric hybrids can be used, as well as propane or natural gas vehicles, or whatever new technology develops in the future. In addition, the system can be installed quickly because the machine that lays the guideways can pave a half a mile a day. What is the estimated overall cost of the BRT system we are proposing? BRT is just $5 million a lane mile. A 120-mile BRT system providing services to most of the county would cost just about $600 million. That is approximately 1/4 the cost of adding additional lanes to I-270 in Montgomery County, and we get an entire transit system for our money. BRT will help us meet our federally mandated emission goals. More important, BRT reduces the threat to public health that car emissions pose, especially to our children and seniors. BRT not only accommodates continued reasonable commercial and residential growth, it also promotes smart growth and increases property values. When considering the choices we have in front of us, BRT looks efficient and cost-effective. We need a fast ride that gets people where they're going quickly and on time. We need frequent service and comfortable vehicles. A countywide bus rapid transit system provides all of this.
Councilmember Marc Elrich will continue to advocate for bus rapid transit, and we look forward to hearing more from him on this fascinating concept. For County Cable Montgomery, I'm Susan Kennedy. Thanks for watching.